I see you found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, listener, for tuning into today's episode of the Oracles with James Tyson. It's me, James, and today I want to introduce you to a friend of mine who is stuck as you can be, in Thailand right now. She is, I was going to say she's originally from California, but that's actually where her belongings are in storage right now. She is a world traveler. I'm talking about Miss Heather Ray Dawn. She is a sound healer, energy healer, and does breath work. And that's one of the things we want to talk about. You can find out a little bit more about her at her website, theecstaticbody.com. Again, theecstaticbody.com, and that's Heather Ray Dawn. Today, Heather and I are going to talk about her work as an energy healer, primarily in breathwork and sound healing. Two things I have no idea really what they're all about, but Heather is the go-to person on this kind of thing. We're also going to get back into when these kind of modalities first came to her as a child, and very, very common amongst the healers that I've been speaking to. And you may recall an interview with Shelley Marie not too long ago, where again, at a very, very young age in elementary school, older people would be coming to her for advice. They would actually pick her out of the crowd, so to speak, family members, friends of the family, or wherever these people come from, and ask her life advice at the ripe old age of 8, 9, or 10. And just like Shelley Marie, once you hear Heather Ray Dawn's story, you'll see how she successfully moved from that little intuitive, that little spark of light that helped so many people at a very young age into what she does now in her energy work and her healing. Heather also talks about her gong and her work with a gong in her healings, which I found fascinating because I'd never really spoken to somebody about the use of devices that create specific sounds, which then would affect the people that they were working with. And that is something that Heather does, along with so many other things. She's also got a travel blog. And if you want to see where she is on the planet at any given time, if you go to Blogspot, or just Google Blogspot and Ray Dawn at 25. Now, Ray is spelled interestingly enough, R-H-E-A Dawn. So Ray Dawn 25 on Blogspot will get you to Heather's blog. Check in today to see what she's up to down in Thailand and whether or not she's been kicked out of the place she's staying in. It's a fascinating young woman, and can't wait to introduce you to her. So let's bring her in now. Heather, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Out here in the Pacific Northwest, it's rainy and cool. And you are where?
I am in Koh Chang, Thailand.
Koh Chang, Thailand.
Big Koh Chang, not the small one. Yep.
How big is the big one?
Well, so I'm at the very bottom, and there's no road that goes to the east side of the island unless you go all the way around. So when you drive all the way around the island, there's no roads that go through it because it's all mountains. It's about a 2 to 2.5 hour drive.
Wow.
And you're talking like really twisty, crazy roads.
I'm in an area where everything's shut down. Well, not everything, but most of the people who aren't working are all staying home. What's it like where you are? Is it that kind of restricted? All the shops are closed. People are told to stay home?
Well, I was just reading about that right before I got on here. So basically, I'll tell you what it's like now. Right now, a lot of bungalows and guest houses have shut down because either they're scared of getting the virus or they don't want people feeling they have permission to come. So if they're closed, then people can't book. Or they're just not getting the booking. People are all canceling, so they're not going to stay open for one guest. And so then that guest has to go find a new place to stay. So bungalows are shutting down. A lot of people have left. There's probably in my area 10 to 20 guests probably left that I can see. there's a grocery store that is open. I mean, we're talking grocery. We're talking like having a quarter of the amount. No, not even that much. It has probably a tenth of the amount of what you would go to a corner store for. Like, it has very little. It has the extreme necessities. That the closest store, which they consider a store here, is a 7-Eleven. And that is if you're a good walker. A 23-minute walk. But yeah, things are starting to close down. They are considering implementing closing everything down after 7 p.m. at night, meaning you have to have your dinner, you have to have everything. They're also considering now that you can only take takeaway, and they're actually considering telling all the accommodations that they can't have guests in them, which makes no sense because where are we going to go?
Yeah, like are they going to just be on the street? Then you're kind of stuck.
Exactly. And then there's the other challenging fact that, and we don't know if that's true, or that it's just something that somebody put on one of the boards. We haven't seen if it's actually true. The fact that it's a 5 to 6 hour experience to go renew our visa. So we're hoping that the government changes that, where we have to be out amongst lots of people where they're telling us to stay in. They're considering locking down the whole entire province of Trat, which is where I'm at, which basically means nobody can come in and nobody can go out. You know, I have no idea what that means for food and water and all that stuff, but so far on the island, we don't actually have any positive cases of somebody having the virus, but we did have a bus driver that came on 3 times with 30 people that did test positive. So we're still waiting to see if any of those passengers had the virus. But right now we don't have anybody who's tested positive that is on the island right now. But everybody's still wearing masks when you go into town.
Half the population here is wearing a mask too. I think a lot of them are out of fear. It's, it does make it look a little bit creepy when you're going down the street. I was out on the road. I had to make some deliveries yesterday to a friend who lives about an hour away, and the roads were pretty bare. And it was very surreal. It's a very surreal time for us to be living through this. But I used to think that, Heather's over in, or I was thinking Heather's in Thailand. It'd be a nice kind of resort area. You'd be a little bit relaxed. But you never think about the government coming in saying, we shut all this stuff down. A friend of mine right now who's on his way he's taking over the family business in America, Samoa, and he was heading there and stopped off in New Zealand. And now he's quarantined in New Zealand, and they won't let him leave into going to Samoa.
That's very expensive
he's got his, yeah. So he's shut down there. Luckily, I think he's got some family there. So they've kind of like stuck him in a room and basically said, yeah, for 14 days you're here before you can head to Samoa. Heather, this isn't really why I got you to talk here, because what it is, I'm actually fascinated with some of the stuff that you do. You do breath work. And we're going to start with breath work. What is that? And just to give me a little, or my listener, a bit of an idea, where did this all start for you? The awakening that you had, but kind of were called to this type of training for people, to helping people? Well,
I consider myself a healer before anything else. Like, that's the base of who I am. That started when I was in elementary school. Like, people would come to me in their 20s and 30s and ask me for advice and wisdom. I was always a hands-on healer, even in elementary school. After I went through massage school, which I went through at 19 years old, I'd already become a hairstylist, and they were like, oh my God, you're so good at massage, you must do that too. And so I went to massage school. And after that, I had a client that said, you do something that I've never experienced, and it's something with energy. And then my clients started talking about they either feel really, really energized after a session with me, or really relaxed, or a combination of both. So what I started doing is feeling into my body and into my hands, and was like, what am I doing? I couldn't completely figure it out, but one day, years later, a friend of mine came for a healing session. He said, I give you full permission to do whatever you need in the session. I've never had anybody say that to me. And so I ended up opening parts of myself that I didn't even know I had as a healer. So I started putting my hands, while I was putting my hands over his body and massaging his body, I started seeing images. Some of them were images he needed to release. Some of them were images that definitely were happy moments that we wanted to keep in him. And he felt such a lightness from getting rid of the past that was in him. Now, I call myself a healer, but I didn't do it. I talked him through how he can do it. Healers guide people to healing themselves. I don't take responsibility for that. And then at some point in time, I got into Tantra, and then I started learning about the chakras and the energies, and I started working with color and more energy and the chakras and the toning, and that opened up a whole entire realm of everything, and tons of different styles of breath work, through sounding, through chakra opening, all kinds of things. So the actual breath work that I teach right now, specifically online, and I'm guiding people privately with, came about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago. I think it was July or August of 2018. I was drawn to one of my girlfriend's sound baths, and I was so excited that there was breath work in it. And so I went, and I just had an amazing, profound experience, not realizing that I'd actually done that same breath work 2 to 3 years before with a different teacher, but it didn't grab me the way it grabbed me this time. And so I went back again. It was really profound. Then after that, I went home and I had a traumatic experience. One of the most traumatic experiences I've actually had. And I came back and I couldn't do much. I had a concussion and I couldn't do much. And I was in shock. I was just in a really bad space. I was able to get myself to this guy's breathwork class, which I was so excited that he was having one. All of a sudden, like after doing it one time with him, I realized one time after the traumatic experience, I was like, this is what I need. I started doing breath work as much as possible at home, in classes. Then I found out he had a training coming up, and I just signed up. And the moment literally, I think the week or 2 weeks after I went through his training, I just started teaching it. And I just watched how it affected me, but I watched how it affected others. I watched how people were transforming their lives and transforming their work, and how they were releasing trauma, and they were releasing the conscious brain, the one that constantly keeps us stopped from doing things, and getting down below into that place of finding what they really want to do with their life, and releasing the pain of the past. And some of my students started actually seeing people that passed away. One student had seen her mother, who had passed away for 12 years before, and had a conversation. And it was just like she was glowing. Others did the same thing. Maybe not their mother, but their grandmother, their grandfather, their father, siblings. For me, it was just an amazing healing modality, but I added something to it that I haven't seen other people do in the way that I'm doing it, which is I fell in love with the gong in my Kundalini yoga teacher training, and I got one. And so at the end of it, like most people use a gong and they just beat the crap out of it, and that's how they use it. What I did, and when I'm around it, still do, is I'm listening to the people around me, and I'm listening to the gong, and the gong is listening to the people. So everybody's listening. I'm listening, and the gong's listening to what is going on in the room and what is needed. And I'm playing it from such an intuitive place that sometimes I open my eyes and I'm seeing what my hands are doing, and my brain is not involved. I'm channeling whatever is needed in the room, and I'm playing it in a way that I know somebody in the room is needing it played that way. I've never played the gong the same way twice, because it depends on the mood of myself if I'm alone. It depends on who's in the room. And so I've had people come up to me who've been to hundreds of sound baths, especially with the gong, and they're like, nobody plays it like you. I didn't really understand completely, but then I did. Like the brain can't understand, but my intuition was like, well, of course, because most people are just playing it from the brain. They're playing from a technique. I was taught a few techniques. I do those techniques because they're good for the gong. It keeps the gong healthy. But other than that, it's my intuition that's guiding me. So people have these profound healing experiences. I have one of my students that have come to so many of my classes. He doesn't call it breathwork. All he says, is, so when's your next sound bath? He comes for the sound bath and stays for the breath work, even though the sound bath is at the end.
That's his draw. That's what he needs at that time. Yeah, the breath work is the bonus he gets before the sound bath.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Watch him release all kinds of stuff in it, though. So, so it's good in the breath work, too.
I was out in Mount Shasta, California last summer. One of my favorite little woo-woo stores in there. Where I'd load up in Palo Santo wood. Had a really nice tie-dyed shirt this year. But they have bowls and gongs. And they have bowls that are 4 feet across and 4 feet high and right down to the little tiny ones and numerous gongs. And I was talking to the fellow who worked there, and he said that the certain sounds and the certain vibrations that come off those are like numerous musical notes. Well, obviously, they are musical notes, but each of those has a specific place in our body, a place in our energy field. And sometimes we just need a charge of that energy to come in to clear something out or to reinforce. And it's just finding that tone or that frequency in the bowl or in the gong that fits that person. Now, when you say you're almost like channeling it, so it's something else is guiding you to hit those frequencies. Would that make sense to you?
Yes, I'm listening to the people, and the people's energetic or spiritual bodies are telling me how to play it.
So you're taking in the information you actually are seeing and you're feeling, processing it, and that's what comes through you and out. They're basically showing you what they need.
But it bypasses my brain.
Yeah, because it's over and above our conscious human, that brain, your pure energy, the healer who you really are.
Right.
Which is it's absolutely fascinating. And this is something that I was very, very curious about is the tones. Now, there is supposed to be a tone like that. When people meditate and say that, that is supposed to have been a certain vibration or a certain tone that then connects to our higher self or connects or helps us raise our vibration when we're in that meditation. Have you heard that too?
Well, it's
described that way.
It is a sound that encompasses all the sounds of the universe.
Okay.
That's why it's such a high frequency. It's inclusive. It's including every single sound of the universe. So it's going to touch everything.
Oh, okay. So that's why it is deemed to be like the most pure sound, because it is all sound.
Yes.
Fascinating. Now, your gong, how big is it? I'm trying to picture it in my head. Is it a little like 12-inch or 20-inch or?
It is 32 inches.
It's a 32-inch gong.
It's a Mars gong.
A Mars gong. Okay. Was it made local?
They're made in Germany. They're all handmade. They're all hand pounded. It's really heavy metals. It's a really heavy metal. Basically for power and for energy and assertiveness, just bringing the power back into the body. And this particular gong, actually, it called me. Like I was really wanting a different gong. But it called me, and then I was given some more information about the kind of gong that I should be using, and I was like, okay, it just called me. I already have my second gong already picked out. For me, the gong is one of, I think, out of all the instruments I've either played or heard, it is, for me, the most healing instrument you can play and listen to. And, you're, as a player, playing it, you're actually healing while playing it. It's going into every cell of my body. So even though I'm being alert and I'm sitting up and I'm feeling the room, I'm still getting some feedback because I'm sitting right in front of it. And then everybody else is having their experience as well. And I sometimes will go from the gong to, I have a crystal bowl that is in the tone of the heart chakra. And so, a lot of people love crystal bowls and singing bowls, and they feel that's the higher frequency of like healing. I just go by what I feel, and the gong just takes you somewhere that I haven't felt in any other instrument. The singing bowls are gorgeous and amazing, and it'll take you other places. But they've actually done scientific studies that says if you lay down on a mat and somebody starts playing a gong for you, you can't resist the sound of it for, I think it's more than 3 minutes. And then it starts seeping in. For me, that means that is a powerful tone that the mind cannot block it for more than 3 minutes.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now I'm going to have to go get a gong. We are talking to Heather Rae Dawn. Please go to her website, theecstaticbody.com. Again, theecstaticbody.com, and see what she offers. Heather does actually offer online workshops and some other wonderful little adventures. And if you happen to run into Heather in person, good luck, because she's all over the planet. If you're lucky enough to cross paths with her and take one of the classes in person, it'd be fantastic. Heather, your breath work, what does that involve?
Breath work, the actual technique of it, I do a 3-part breath, and it's to open up the whole entire lungs, the whole entire lung system. So we're getting to the lower lungs, we're getting to the upper lungs, we're expanding around the back. So we're filling up the belly and we're filling up the chest, and we're just releasing it out, and we're just letting it flow. And there's no force on the exhale, and it's just being a consistent thing that's just happening, that you're just breathing through. There's no pauses. And it's like people get into a rhythm, it's literally an active meditation. Literally, it's an active meditation. Like people who can't sit down, hands on knees, fingers together, quiet the mind, they come, they do breath work, whether it's privately with me or in a class, and they go places. It's just powerful because they're still focusing on something that they can actually tangibly feel. They can feel their belly rise. They can feel their chest rise. And so what they're doing is they're focusing so strong on that all of a sudden their mind, the subconscious mind is released, and then all the power and all the everything that they've been holding inside is released. And all of a sudden they can hear what they're needing better. They can hear what their desires are more. They can feel into so much more. I've had people just have transcendental experiences of seeing colors and feeling connected to spirit or source or whatever you want to call it. And then, within an hour, I just bring them back. They're not always forever changed. Sometimes they're forever changed, and sometimes they're mildly changed. Gets people letting go of their mind, coming back into present time, getting rid of the trauma and the pain, releasing all that, opening up their system so they can actually download and manifest exactly what they're wanting and needing in their life. Breath brings prana into our bodies, which prana gives us life. Prana can release stuff out of our bodies the way nothing else can. And we, as adults, we have so much stuff crammed into our belly. Because you slam on the brakes in the car, our belly contracts. You see a violent act, our belly contracts. As a child, we always did a lot of times we breathed into the chest. So we breathed into the chest to release the trauma from our childhood. Sometimes we breathed into our belly as well, but a lot of it gets trapped in the chest. And so when we're breathing in the belly and the chest and we're releasing everything. We're letting go of everything. And so we're letting it fall out. We're not pushing it out. And so people have these epiphanies. I know what I want to do for the rest of my life now. Oh my gosh, I got the answer from this traumatic experience of what I needed to learn or what I need to see or what I need to grow. Or maybe they didn't need to see any of that. They just let it go and they felt freer or lighter, more alive, more joyful. And people want to connect more after. It's like the breathwork community actually is building because it gets all the crazy inhibitions out. And so then people actually want to talk to each other and connect, even in big cities. And so it's powerful that way. It just opens the heart. It's a beautiful heart opener.
It's fascinating to me, and I don't claim to know much about breath work, but I was trained many years ago on how to control certain aspects of my physical body by controlling my breath. but it never crossed over to, or knowingly crossed over into the full consciousness change while controlling or monitoring breath. I know when I was in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I worked in northern Alberta, and in the winter it went down to minus 40 in my first winter there. And it was freezing cold. And one of the guys I was with, he says, remember your breathing? I was shaking. I was just absolutely frozen. We were outside. We were out on a road. And he looked at me and said, remember your breathing. And we're wearing relatively warm clothes, relatively, minus 40 and dry. And he just looked at me and said, remember your breathing. And all you do is take a deep breath and breathe very, very slowly. Exhale. And all the coldness leaves your body and you're warm.
Yeah.
And he just smiled and walked away and went, oh, yeah, we got taught that. But it was a way to preserve. It's hard to explain for people who have never tried it. If anyone's familiar with Wim Hof, he teaches a different way to basically it's breathing and becoming strong and healthy, and does workshops on discovering the inner fire, which he turns on and it warms you up. And the guy lives in someplace in Scandinavia, on an iceberg or something. He's always out running around, jumping into frozen lakes, and he's fine. Like he just through his breathing. So I know breath, in my experience, breath can control a lot of your physical things that are coming at your body physically. And it's primarily, in my experience, is temperature drop. But you're taking that step further, it's not just affecting the physical, it's affecting the conscious and subconscious and your actual soul, your spirit. Your auric field is being is affected.
People are glowing afterward, and it strengthens your immune system. That's why it's so important right now to be doing it, because it actually strengthens your immune system also.
Good time for that kind of thing too.
Wim Hof, his nickname is Iceman because of the fact that he's, goes to these glaciers and gets into glacier water, and he has control over his mind and his body through his breath. And he's done amazing work. You might want to check out Dan Brule as well. He's been teaching and researching breathwork, and he actually wrote a book called Just Breathe. He's been in the breath industry for about 45 years, I think. I took a class with him. He was brilliant. He'll take you through a 2-hour breathwork session, and it feels like minutes. Whereas Wim Hof it's very calculated. Like you do this amount of breaths, and then you do breath hold and this, that, and the other. And I do a lot of breath holds as well. Now, because I realize that it's important. So I've taken what I've learned between Dan Brule and Wim Hof and a few other teachers and my main teacher, and I've just put it all together, because the fact that one thing isn't going to work for everyone.
I think that's why people like you who take 2 or 3 different looks at the same subject make it your own. You're doing that because there's a need. You have an audience. People will be drawn to you that maybe Dan's or Wim's methods wasn't connecting. Mm-hmm. So they need somebody like you, and it'll connect with them through you. Mm-hmm. And you'll have your own audience, and you come at it through a different energy. You come at it through a different experience. That's very important for the people that will be drawn to you. It's fascinating, too, for me to watch someone like you attract people to you. I know it from a number of people in my own community that will put out saying that, I think I want to do this kind of healing, or I want to set up a location for meditation. And I really think I've been to 3 of them and I didn't quite like them. And this is the way I want to do it. And all of a sudden people come out of the woodwork to them. And I think it's just people like you appear at that specific point in someone else's life to awaken that part of them. It's lovely. It's fascinating. I'm just in awe of people who can do that.
Yeah,
it is very, very cool. And as a kid too, like this, starting back in grade school, my goodness, the energies that were working through you. Have you taken a step back and tried to figure out who you are? Are you something unique in your family, or does this run in your family?
Oh God, no. No, I mean, it's that whole thing, a black sheep of the family. No, I'm the person that didn't fit in. I'm the person that was responsible. I was the adult of the family. I was the one who they came when they needed advice. I was the one who, when they needed to figure out how to get themselves out of debt, they would come to me and ask me questions. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was helping them. It didn't take, took me until I was an adult to realize what was happening. I was the person that when people really needed answers to tough questions, they came to me. And, my friends were in their 20s and 30s, and I'm in third grade, 9 years old. Or my family always relied on me to be there for them. And I was always that person that was the responsible one and had the answers and could talk them through whatever they need to talk through. I was the person that made peace between the family. It went crazy when I decided to let go of that role, but I did. Because got tiring in my 20s. It's been a long journey, but it's just what I know. Who am I? I am always evolving. So being a body worker and healer, my modalities change all the time. So it started just with what I would consider simple, awesome massage. And that went into energetics, and that went into me recreating. I created my own style of deep tissue. People who could not get rid of pain and knots in their body, I created a style of massage that did. They would have things in their body, but they would go and spend thousands of dollars to the top healers, and they couldn't do anything. They'd come to me for 1 to 2 sessions. Most of the time, 1 or 2 sessions, they were fine. One woman came to me and she didn't even know that her foot wasn't fully on the floor. She was from a car accident. And something just kept saying, stick my elbow into her hip area, right there. And I would just breathe and just let her muscles relax while my elbow just slowly melted into her hip area, into the fleshy parts of her hip area. And 6 weeks after working with her doing that, she came to me, she goes, my feet are on the floor. I'm like, it's not where they're supposed to be. And she's like, I was in a car accident. I've been walking on the side of my foot for 5 years. And now my full foot is on the floor. Whatever you've been doing has done something where my foot's on the floor. I've worked with ballerinas that couldn't do a turnout because a surgery they had on their colon, or in their belly. And within a certain amount of time, they can turn it out. Was I trained in how to do this? No, I wasn't. I used to do 5-hour sessions on some of my clients, and they would beg for more. And I'm like, no, you need to go home. You want another session, come back next week. And that was really deep incremental work that I wouldn't get to the whole entire body with. And then I did too much and injured myself. I had to start doing more relaxed, mellow work. And I found different modalities inside me that was still working, and I didn't have to go so deep. And people were getting the same results, if not better. I started having clients coming to me saying, oh, your work is a different style of Lomi Lomi. And I'm like, I thought Lomi Lomi was really soft and gentle. I was like, okay. And I put it out to the universe. I said, okay, universe, I need to find somebody so I can experience this. This guy emails me within, I will say maximum a month, but I think it was 2 weeks, and says, I would love to do a trade with you. Please check out my website. Check out his website. Guess what he does? He does Lomi Lomi and Esalen. Been fascinated by Esalen, and so many of my clients were saying my work is similar to Lomi Lomi. I was like, okay. He wouldn't let me pay him, so he wanted only exchange. So he came over and gave me a massage. First of all, it took me to a place that was so relaxed and such a light space that I was high off of it for so long. I got off the massage table, and for the next 2 to 3 days, all I did was research Lomi Lomi. I watched every video possible. I got people sending me their videos. Everything I could do to research it. And the next 2 of my regular clients, when they called, I said, can I do this new style on you? And they were like, yeah, sure. I said, if you don't like it, I won't ever do it again, but I would love to try this on you. And both of them, after I do my version of Lomi Lomi, they said to me, wow, this seems like it'd be really hard on your body. So, but if it's not, can we stick with this? And I would take what I saw and what I was learning online and make it my own. And so it was still these long, beautiful strokes, intermittent with like doing deeper work and doing stretches in ways that I didn't see other people doing it. You know, part of my background is Thai massage, but I don't do full Thai massage. I just incorporate it in me. And, you know, getting the right massage table and doing everything so I can do it in a way that worked for people. Getting a massage table that had a heater inside of it so they could actually be on the massage table and stay warm. And still doing my energy work and still feeling into people's body and getting messages from people and relaying them to them. Like sometimes, you know, people are like, you know, if you hear anything, see anything, feel anything, just let me know what it is. And messages would come through what they needed to hear in order to heal and this, that, and the other. And so that's basically the evolving thing for the last, God, I've been doing body work and healing professionally after being certified for over 30 years. And it's always evolving. And who am I? I'm a healer. I'm a breathwork facilitator. I'm a coach. I coach couples on intimacy and relationship and communication skills and how to be more conscious, loving, beautiful lovers with each other. I coach women on empowerment and pleasure and self-pleasuring, getting them back into loving their bodies or maybe loving their bodies for the first time. I can coach people on their breath work. I coach people on life coaching, doing massage, teaching a myriad of classes around sexual healing, teaching couples how to be each other's healer and not just their partner, how to teaching them how to hold space and what that is and what that means. This is really important in relationships, in conscious relationships, and how to be each other's sexual healers so they can release the pain. And so sexuality isn't just about sex and pleasure, but it's about releasing everything so you can go to your next level of pleasure. On top of, you know, tantric massage, and I created a style of body massage which includes like it combines my favorite things. It combines tantra, massage, and contact improv and sensuality, and it brings in beautiful aspects of, like, you know, your animalistic side and you're just that you know, anywhere from sensual to animalistic, which is really intense and amazing, and letting it all be there, letting that erotic side show up. And then last year, or 2 years ago, I brought kink into it as a healing modality and as a way to teach clients and my students how to bring kink into the relationship in a way that is beautiful and sacred. And so I was combining tantra and kink, and people would watch me with my demo and say, I never knew kink could be so sensual and beautiful. I just always thought it had to be painful and dominating and bombarding and you know, all this stuff. And it's like, no, it can be anything you want. And so I would teach a modality that, yeah, sure, there could be some pain, but I'm a sensualist. And so I come from a place of like, hey, be sensual, be strong, be powerful, going in and out of being dominating and submissive or top and bottom, and showing people how all of this works. It can or could work in the relationship. And so people would bring their partners, and women who had never dominated or been a top got to experience what it was like. Like, one man brought his partner and he's always dominating. And so she wanted to experience that. And so the whole night, they didn't switch places. A lot of times I just have them switch, and they both agreed that she would be dominating him the whole night or be the top. They both loved it. Neither one of them had experienced that, and it brought something new to their relationship. And, you know, some students would bring electricity or their flogger, and then they would want to learn how to use them or learn how to tie their partner up in a healthy way, because, You have to learn how to tie people in a healthy way, in a conscious way. And so I've used kink as a healing modality, an intimacy modality, and a loving modality, and a consent modality. Like, all of that has to be in place for it to work. And so it's still me being the healer I am with the sound healing. Like, when I come back, I'm going to be doing a lot more sound healing, a lot more singing, which is toning with the instruments I have. I love singing with the instruments I have. I'm probably going to be doing more cacao ceremonies, things to get people into their heart, get people connecting with each other. For me, it's like, I love getting people in connection. I love community and people and dancing and getting people feeling into their body, like getting people embodied. Like, even when I get people to communicate with each other, it's like, what does that feel like in your body? I just wrote an article on jealousy and envy and the difference between them. And the first step is like, feel it in your body. And then find a way of speaking about it in a responsible manner. I've taught classes on communication, but it's still a way of healing. It's still a way of connecting. It's still a way of loving each other.
The connection is the important part. And communication is, which I always say, the C word, communication. It's something that everything revolves around. Mm-hmm. You need that connection. Without that pure connection, that pure communication that goes two ways, you'll never have the rest of the connection.
Well, learning how to listen is an important thing, and learning how to really honor people's boundaries.
Yeah. I
used to teach cuddling, and I'm considering going back to doing that a little bit because it's so vital in the consent world. I had several of my clients come to me and say, like, students come to me and say, hey, is there any way you can like mix kink and cuddling? And I've thought about it, but it never birthed, but I'm sure there's a way.
Kinkling?
Yeah. We're kinkling today. But yeah, it's just, it's like without consent and without, like, the base of my work is not only healing, but what has people heal is feeling safe. And if they don't feel safe, nothing's going to heal. And so, like, that is the baseline of my work, is like, for you to heal, I need to hold a really clear, safe space. Like, I watch some other Tantra educators. They'll say, hey, we're doing a puja. And this is what it's about. And then you show up at the puja, and then the teacher tells you, now we have to take off all our clothes. Well, that wasn't on the description. And they're manipulated and guilted and shamed into taking their clothes off to do it. And then all their boundaries are being crossed. And I remember I went to a class like this, a puja like this, and I was the only one that kept my clothes on because I didn't want to take my clothes off. Like, I could, I didn't want to. I ended up starting the puja with my ex-boyfriend. And after having two more people after him, I went right back to him and I said, nope, even with my clothes on, I'm like, no, I'm staying with you. And that was, it was amazing, but a lot of people didn't know how to do that. And we need to open our voices to share, to be in our empowerment, to connect with our truth and be able to share that. And we also need to be able to share when things are rough and hard and it's like challenging. It's like a few of my friends have said, you do the hard conversation really well. So if something really needs to be cleared, I do it, and I've practiced for 18 years now on how to do it in a way that the other person can listen. I get my point across. They may or may not agree, but nobody feels accused of anything. I take responsibility for my part, and that's the key thing in communication is like, what can you take responsibility for? You can't take responsibility for everything, but what can you take responsibility? If you start with that, people will hear you. And so this is what I teach in my classes with my couples, how to touch, the art of touch. I do classes on art of touch, how to authentically relate to each other and authentically connect with each other, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's fascinating. And again, if anyone wants to know a little bit more about what Heather does, please go to the website, theecstaticbody.com. And it's fascinating that your healing has expanded into where it has gone for you. And I keep thinking of that little ninth grade kid or 9-year-old, holding court for a bunch of teenagers and 20-somethings coming in wanting their life straightened out. Because I just interviewed somebody similar to that who was looking after her entire family at the age of 10, who, again, is also very, very high vibration. Her life path ended up going off and is an angel communicator and does readings, angel cards, and healings, and energy work. And it's kind of funny that both of you in the same week are telling me about stuff that happened in grade school, really, and that you were completely different than the rest of the family. You were the anomaly, a different energy in the family. Do you ever see things when you were a kid? Or is that kind of gone now? Shadows, spirit, anything like that?
Spirits all the time. When my grandparents died, they used to come and visit me all the time. I sometimes talk to them. I had a roommate that said, no, you need to tell them to go away. They're not supposed to be here. They're supposed to live out there and get reborn. I'm like, okay. So I was a little bummed that I actually did tell them to go away, and they did. I could feel them from time to time, but I wasn't able to see them after that. I was a little bummed that I listened to her, but we live and learn. But I see things sometimes out of the corner of my eyes. I'm a feeler, though. When I sit with somebody, it's like I feel so much. When I sit with somebody, I can feel what's holding them back. Even if I can't put words to it, I can feel what's underlying. I can feel sometimes what they're wanting to say. I can sometimes see a light in them that they don't realize is there. And so I feel those things. I don't see them from my eye necessarily, but I watch their body language and I see how people walk, and I see what I have to actually stop myself from watching people move, because it tells me so much. It doesn't allow my brain to relax. So I've trained myself not to do that unless I'm working. And it's also part of consent. They're not consenting that. But yeah, I feel things on a deep level, and most people I don't think understand me at all. I don't always understand me. I mean, when you're into it, you don't always understand yourself because you're always downloading things and feeling things really deeply and being an empath and connecting with spirit, or like when I was living in a big city, forgetting to connect in, not happy. Here I'm in a place where in the tiny village that I'm in right now, the ones that I would say I see, there's 100 people in this village. If I go up to the city, probably another 100 or 200 that you see. Doesn't mean there is not more. It's so much more calm for my system. It makes me laugh. I was writing this in the middle of the night. Last night I woke up and I was like, I have to write. And I just wrote on I have a blog, and I wrote it on my travel blog, and about how quarantine has actually brought relief to me, because I'm always thinking like, oh, I should be going out and doing something, but I'm indoors puttering. And I didn't used to always be that way. I used to be always outside. Now I don't have any of that little voice saying I should be doing something. I'm totally relieved to be like, yes, I'm in. I'm happy. I get to putter. And my brain is totally relaxed, so I can actually start studying and learning about more about Zoom. There's some videos that I just watched on how to do breakout rooms. So when I do my intimacy classes, I can get people coupled up and paired up into breakout rooms, and they can have their own private space. So it's really amazing. There's other stuff, like all the amazing stuff that Bill Gates is up to right now, which is fascinating, and what he's been up to since he's given up Microsoft. But it's a time of going in and listening and feeling and connecting in, and playing music and singing and writing. And I'm just about to start doing some videos. And what I'm also finding is my past from I used to be a huge gym junkie. I love going to the gym. I would have been a bodybuilder if my mom would have let me. Now I'm healing my knee injury and I'm getting back in that place of like, hey, what can I do to not only help my knee, but maybe support others and maybe support others that have knee injuries and show them how they can still work out. And especially at this time where people have nothing to do, doing videos on that.
Heather, do you find it frustrating sometimes as being a healer with your experience, not being able to fix something that's on you to the way you want it fixed, like your knee? Like it's almost like a second person, another person has to come in and do the healing where you can't. It's almost like you're not allowed to fix it completely on your own.
What I've learned in the last few years is that we all need support. We all need support in ways that I give to others. And so when this happened, and I was recommended to a physical therapist, this happened in Bali, and I was recommended to a physical therapist. I went to him and I could tell that he knew what he was doing. Not only did he know what he was doing on a physical level, but when emotions showed up, he stopped everything and held space for me. Something I do for everyone in my life. And, most people I know would just keep going with the physical, but he would just stop everything and just be with me in the emotion and walk me through it and talk me through it. And so, no, it wasn't hard to go to him. It was hard. Actually, I didn't want to leave Bali because I didn't want to leave him because he was giving me so much support. And now I'm in Thailand where there's no physical therapist where I'm at. And now there's no massage. So I'm doing self-massage on a daily basis and my own healing. And what's amazing now, it's just happened the last few days, I've gotten to a certain point where when I'm in the ocean, I'm starting to do things, and even a little bit out of the ocean, I'm starting to do things that my intuition is saying, your knee's ready for this now. Oh, now it's ready for this. But you know what? Try this. Even if I'm just trying it once, and I'm watching the progress in just the last 3 days exponentiate. Is that how you say that word? It's just growing really fast. It's healing really fast because the 8 days before that, I was I was having a hard time walking because I did something that my body didn't like. But, I've been told by my physical therapist, like, you need to go out and do more. And it's funny because there's a virus and you're not supposed to be out. But I'm finding ways of getting out and doing things. So is it hard? I mean, it's hard because I can't get to certain angles and certain parts of my knee to massage, especially the back of it. But it's not frustrating to have support or help in it. I sometimes miss having, I want somebody there for my emotional well-being, sometimes through this. But the physical, I know I need somebody there. I wish I could take my hands and do what I wanted to do with my knee. That would be great. But it's only a little frustrating when I get somebody who they're doing the rote massage that they do on everybody. And they're not willing to listen to a new way. Like if there's somebody who's willing to be taught, that they're amazing. And I found 2 of them in Bali like that. But here, the women and the men here are pretty much stuck in their ways. They do massage this way. And I laid one woman down. I said, this is what I want you to do to my knee. And I showed on her. She did a little bit, but not as much as I needed. So that's a little challenging. It's frustrating. But I just have to keep going. You know what? As long as I'm progressing by the week, I'm okay. And as long as I can still use my hands and do some of the healing work myself and energy work, I'm okay.
Well, have you ever done Reiki, whether you're certified or not? Have you ever done like holding your hand over top of somebody and feeling without touching?
So I haven't been trained in energy work, but I've been doing energy work since I was probably 19 or 20 from what my clients have told me. They're like, you released shit out of my body that I didn't know needed to be released. And I'm like, I didn't do that consciously. Yeah, I've hovered my hands over. I've gently put my hands on people. I've had people sit next to me, and just sitting next to me, they feel something. I don't know what they feel, but they heal something by just sitting next to me.
Yeah, because you glow in the dark. It's weird because this all came to me in 2012, where I can look at somebody in a photograph and look at them and say, oh, that's an empath. That's a higher vibration person. I can see them, and obviously I can see them in real life. And when I try to explain to somebody what I see, I can't articulate it. I just know. It would be the easiest way of putting it. And I took a Reiki course, and I felt, I only do it on my dog, really, because he's got a bad knee. He's got an appliance in his knee, and I help him out. And I've done it a couple of times on a human who had an ache and a pain, and ended up during that Reiki session, I ended up seeing dead people coming through and spirit guides. And I said, this is fine. I think that, no, I'll let somebody else do this now. Because I can't block that stuff out. I find it is in the intent to help. And the rest of it, in Reiki, there's 7 little swirls you do in your palms as you get ready, and you meditate and you open things up. And honestly, I don't have to do all that. If my intention is pure to help, then it comes through.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you were doing when you were a kid. When you were 19, you were doing energy work because you already had that pure intent to help. So the universe, creator, whatever your belief system is, finally, become a conduit for that energy to help.
Right.
It's understanding that you have, my intent is to do good, and right. You are a pure person, and that's why it works so well for you.
Well, intention is, in a lot of things, is the key to life. What was your intention in talking to that person? What was your intention in touching that person? What was your intention in hugging that person? What was your intention in doing a healing session with that person? I have people coming up to me like, oh, can I massage you? And it's like, no, because I can feel it in you, what your intention is. It's like, unless I want to be massaged that way by that person. But intention is the majority of, like, it's our tone and how we're coming across and what our intention is. If we're here to heal, and we're here to support the planet, we're here to support another human being, then that's going to shine through. The only time it doesn't shine through is if somebody has so much pain and trauma in their being that they take everything that you do as negative. And we as humans can't control that. Yeah. I'm fortunate that I haven't ran into those people a lot in my healing work, but most of those people, that's typically on the street instead of like going to a healing sessions anyway, I think. You have to get out of your own way and see what is your own stuff. It's huge. Yeah. But yeah, intention is key for this work.
One of the things I was going to ask you, because of you being sensitive and because you're a traveler, when you run into other people that are traveling, and I mean, well, just stick to the Western people, like if you met somebody else from the US or Canada, France, and you met them in India, do you kind of realize that, or have you ever thought about it, that most of the people you run into, or if not all of them, are higher vibration people? Because the low ones really stick out when you're traveling, and there is a couple of low ones, and I don't want to blame the Australians. No, I'm kidding. But they don't seem to. I don't know. I never run into them in the group. You know how we all kind of, as we travel, I'll be in Fiji, and all of a sudden, everybody has a similar language and a similar taste in food all end up in the same place.
Yeah,
and you all become immediate friends within an hour. And it's like you've known each other forever. Hindsight is they were all high vibration people. There's that one or two.
Right.
Because I don't know why they're there. But it was like travelers, as opposed to tourists, seem to be a bit of a higher vibration. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that out because you're one of those people who travel.
Yeah. I think it's different. So when I was younger, and I don't have a huge thing on age, but when I was younger, I think I ran into a lot more of those people. Being older now, people see me differently, so they act differently around me. And I say that because, they've said things to me that I'm like, wow, oh my God, they see me as an older person. And so it's very interesting. On this trip, so I was supposed to travel for about 4 to 6 months, probably 6 months on this trip. I've been gone since July 1st. 4 months of those, 4.5 months of those have been me healing. And because I couldn't work at home, so I thought, well, I better just stay over here because, rent is cheaper. And in the time that I have been traveling, I will say that I have met one really intuitive, spiritual being that we just got each other. And I loved talking with her. And I actually did an energetic healing with her to remove a lot of blocks in her system. And she just got me, and I just got her. And she had never met anybody that got her. And so I was really bummed when we stopped traveling together. We didn't travel very long together, but it was just like the vibration of like getting each other and what we talked about and what she saw and what I saw and how it was just amazing. And an awesome conversation with a guy yesterday that, as much as he is if you listen to him talk, you would think that his tone of voice, his tone of voice would be total party animal and totally cool and and almost stoner type kind of thing. But you get him talking about spirituality, you get him talking about healing. He's had profound experiences, and it was probably the best conversation I've had on this island. I may have had one other, and it was just amazing to just for somebody who comes across very loud and he's a drinker and stoner, and I think he smokes and all this stuff. And it's like, but he has this really beautiful spiritual side. So you do find them. It's just, you have to get underneath the addictions. You have to get them on those topics to find them now. Whereas so when I was traveling in India, it was really easy because, I'm at a Vipassana and then afterward we're talking, or in a meditation retreat or a Buddhist retreat. Well, all those people, you're going to have something in common, and they're all going to be at a beautiful higher vibration. Or the Vipassana I love here in Thailand, which is my favorite, those people radiate at a different vibration. But just traveling, if you're not in a spiritual place, I've met lots of non-spiritual people, traveling around Europe. But you go places like Peru, people are there to do ayahuasca and San Pedro. And so they're on a different level. And those people are just beautiful and amazing. And they want to absorb you, and they want to be absorbed. And they want to learn and grow from you, and to see if you can learn something from them. And so, yeah, it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And I'm overly jealous that you have the opportunity to do this. When you are actually back in the United States, where do you call home?
Okay, well, first I need to correct you on your words of jealous. You're not jealous.
Envious. You're envious?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because jealous is you have something that I want and I don't want you to have it.
Oh, yeah, that would be negative, wouldn't it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and envious is I want what you have and I want you to have it too.
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah. So
okay, yeah.
That's the little teacher in me coming out.
This is where I say yes, dear.
Good boy. So where do I call home? That's a really good question. The place I've been living in is like Venice Beach area, LA. Mm-hmm. Do I consider it home? If I'm just saying casually, like, hey, when I'm at home, or when I go home, I guess I am referring to LA. but I'm really referring, I think, more to California or the US, because when I get back, I don't plan on living in LA. I'll probably get back and I'll stay there for a while and I'll teach because, I have students and I have clients. But I plan on finding a more naturalistic place to live. And I really would like to live in a community house and be around people, and preferably in a place that has a separate place that I meet for me to teach in, because I love teaching in my home, but I don't like disturbing like roommates and stuff like that. So I've been teaching in my home since my students asked, or they didn't even ask, they kind of begged, because I used to rent spaces, and they didn't like it. They liked me in my home. They're like, I know you better. It's more intimate. It's more vulnerable. And it became easier for me. So right now I would say, if I said, oh, where is home? I would say, Venice Beach area. But it's where my stuff is stored, and it's what I know. I've been in and out of LA for 20 years, but I can't say I have really deep friendships there. Right? People don't drive to go see each other. I was writing about that this morning too, and and most of the people I was closest to have moved out of LA in the last few years. So, I have a lot of acquaintances there, and I have clients and students there. But so that's where I've been calling home. But home is wherever I land my head at this point in time.
Yeah, you're more of I was going to say earthbound. You're more just a citizen of Earth, because the way you move around. Heather, where do we go to look at your blog? My
blog.
Your traveler one.
Yes. Let me look that up, actually.
And while you're looking that up, I will remind people about your website, the ecstaticbody.com. And you can go and see all the different things that Heather puts together, including workshops, private sessions when she has a place. and you can bump into her on the various things that she talks about. The breath work, her workshops, massages, ecstatic soul retreat, which is kind of cool. I guess you put those on when you, again, are in a nice location where people can find you.
Yeah.
And so if we keep an eye on your website, we'll know when you've landed and put down temporary routes.
Yeah. And so I want to say the ecstatic body. I'm going to spell it because a lot of people spell ecstatic differently. So it's TheEcstaticBody.com. So the ecstatic body. My full name is Heather Rhea, Rhea Dawn. You can find me on Instagram also at Heather Rhea Dawn. They've taken down my Facebook page as of 6 weeks ago. So I'm still hoping to get one back someday. And then if you are on Meetup, if you go to the LA area, the zip code 90066, and you look up the ecstatic body on Meetup, those are all my classes as well, and all the dates and everything. My travel blog is https://raydawn25. I'll spell that in a minute. .blogspot.com. So Raydawn25 is RHEADAWN and then the number 25. .blogspot.com. You have to be, so that's my travel blog. So you'll get to see some pictures of Thailand.
So we'll be able to get a hold of you somewhere.
RHEA.
Now, and the other thing too is if anybody is mixed up on the travel blog thing, if you actually Google Blogspot and then
Raydawn25.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Just Blogspot, RHEA Dawn 25 took me right to my travel blog.
Yeah.
And there you are. Look at you.
There I am.
All your cool stuff you've done.
Photo this morning.
Oh, this will take me a month to read. So hopefully, well, I've got nothing to do. I'm trapped in the house.
There you go.
Jammed on a computer so I can look at you sitting on a a nice chair outside in the Thailand while I'm at 53 degrees and rainy in the Pacific Northwest. But it's okay. I live in a rainforest. My rainforest is a little bit colder than your rainforest. That's all. But it's green, just as green, and nothing will bite you that comes out of a tree. So we got that, other than Bigfoot, but just he doesn't bite. He just throws rocks. We've been talking to Heather Rhea. I was going to go off on a Bigfoot tangent. We're talking to Heather Rhea Dawn. She has the wonderful website, theecstaticbody.com, a teacher of breathwork, a healer. She is a healer of many modalities. Please, if you get an opportunity to follow her again on Instagram or go to the website. And again, her blog spot, Rhea Dawn 25, will give you your travel blog. And it's fascinating. Thanks very much, Heather, for doing this. I know it's kind of out of the ordinary. It's quite early in the morning for you in Thailand. And I really appreciate you giving me some time.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks for your time and the questions and your energy and all that beautifulness. And I will see you on Instagram.
You certainly will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Watching you while you sleep on and on.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey. Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? They sing and they go, what are those voices? Look up on the mountain. Wake up, somebody hide, somebody better hide on through the hill, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive. And forget yourself. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done, throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the men that are on through the hill, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done, throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after. No!